Aaron Rodgers is not happy with what the MVP award has become in 2023. This is from the Pat McAfee Show. I agree, and I have a sneaky feeling what Aaron's going to say here. I think Aaron's going to say, we don't have to give it to quarterbacks. He's going to say, it doesn't have to be who is the best quarterback on the best team. It can go to a running back. It can go to a wide receiver. It can go to a defensive player. And this year, I think it should go to a running back. I think Christian McCaffrey should win the MVP. I think Christian McCaffrey deserves the MVP award. But what have we heard all year long? We heard Dak Prescott. Then we heard Brock Purdy. Now we're hearing Lamar Jackson. We've heard Tua. Right now, I think Tua is the third favorite to win the MVP. Does anyone here think Tua is better, more impactful, however you want to phrase it, more valuable to the Dolphins offense than Tyreek Hill? I do not. Do y'all think Brock Purdy is better, more impactful, more valuable to the San Francisco 49ers than Christian McCaffrey? I do not. It does not have to be quarterback, good team, give him the award. We should be able to sprinkle in other people. Myles Garrett, I think, is probably more deserving of the MVP than Tua Tagovailoa. And I love Tua. But it's just, we shouldn't have whittled the MVP down to which quarterback has the best record.
Brock's had a really nice season. I'm going to segue and offer this up to the panel here. And obviously I'm a little biased because of the position I play. And MVP has really become a best quarterback award or best quarterback on the best team award.
Yeah.
Quarterback on the best team award. Or the running back can get or a receiver, if they had 2,000 yards, right?
Maybe they can. I don't know. I mean, you look at like what Cooper Kupp did. You look at what Cooper Kupp did when the Rams won the Super Bowl. He didn't win the MVP. I mean, if you think about what a wide receiver has to do to win this award, it's insane. I mean, you're talking about doing something that has never been done before in history. A receiver having 2,000 yards. And that maybe would get you in consideration of the award.
Is this a year where it's just going to go to the quarterback on the best team? Or does a guy like CMC have a chance to legitimately win this? Or Tyreek Hill? Is Mostert on there? I mean, he's got like 20 touchdowns too. I guess he's not, right?
21.
Yeah. Is this just what are the odds now? Okay, so Lamar's number one. Then what? McCaffery, who is that? Tua, Josh, Brock, Dak, Tyreek, and Jalen. Yeah, so it's
crazy.
Tyreek, who's leading the league by a couple hundred yards at receiver, and CMC, who I believe is a couple hundred yards up as well. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but
I mean, what Christian McCaffrey have, like a 20-something game touchdown streak? He is the best player on the best team. Christian McCaffrey is the most impactful player, most important player on the best team. Like, if you want to do it that way, if you want to do it where you don't want to give the MVP to a player on a bad team, Christian McCaffrey is your answer. I like Lamar. Talked about the Ravens all off season. Love the Ravens, but Lamar's not having an MVP season. Does he have 19 passing touchdowns, something like that? I mean, it's just crazy. No defensive players on here. One running back, one wide receiver. I mean, you could argue CeeDee Lamb should be above Dak Prescott.
I think both those guys deserve a lot of consideration. The other guy, and I saw some stats, and I know Josh has had turnovers this year, but the guy has 40 combined touchdowns again in 4 straight years.
Yeah, Josh Allen.
The team has been, they won 4 straight, I believe, and 3 of those were pretty damn good opponents, playoff teams. If they finish the last 2 and win out, and if Miami loses their next one, the Week 18 is going to be.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills, Miami, Week 18 will be for the division.
So Bills would be 11-6 then. Ooh. Pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good record.
And I think
it looks a little bit more appetizing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Well, what if Josh has 8 touchdowns the last 2 weeks and finishes with 48 combined touchdowns? How do you not put him in the conversation?
Well, it does feel like there is a chance that somebody here at the end could come win this thing, because every single week, and D-Butt was actually going to bring this up because you won an MVP 4 times, and I think J.J. Watt would say, one of the times you won it, he's potentially Christian McCaffrey or Tyreek Hill in this particular situation. He's brought that up a few times.
I do think MVP is interesting because you can look at the award 2 different ways. You can look at it for who is the best player in the NFL. Then you can look at it for who is the most valuable player in the NFL. It's 2 very different things. And it's kind of hard because in basketball, in the NBA, for a long time, I always said LeBron ruined the MVP award because LeBron was obviously the best player in the NBA for a long stretch of his career. Really before Golden State kind of popped off. So you could have easily just written him in for 6 straight years. But they kind of switched things up enough to where they didn't do that, right? Because then the award becomes not fair. Same with baseball. Shohei Ohtani, as long as he is playing at this level, is the best player in baseball. So do you just give him the MVP award for however long he's playing? Or do you try and kind of, shake things up a little bit to where you can give it to other people? Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. So, if you give it to Brock Purdy, what is that saying? Are you saying Brock Purdy has had the best year statistically? Because that's not the case. Or it might not be the case. Seasons, we still have games to play. Are you saying that Brock Purdy is more valuable to the Niners than Patrick Mahomes is to the Chiefs? No one believes that. I've also thought it was interesting when Peyton Manning got traded from the Colts, or when Peyton Manning's left the Colts, and Curtis Painter was the quarterback, and they might have won 1 game. There was an argument to give it to Peyton because it shows how valuable he is to the Colts. It showed his value that he's not there anymore. Look what happened, right? So there's so many different ways to look at this thing. I really do. I think the simplifying it and saying who is the best player this year, some combination of who's the most impactful and the best statistical season. If you do that, I think you'll probably get your MVP. And if you do that, Josh Allen is much better, much more impactful, much more important, much more valuable to the Bills than Brock Purdy is to the 49ers. And probably more than Tua is to the Dolphins. Right? So the award is weird. It's a problematic award, especially when you factor in defensive player of the year and offensive player of the year. So voters are much more liable to just say, well, we'll give it to blank offensive player, and then we'll give Myles Garrett or J.J. Watt and Aaron Rodgers situation, or T.J. Watt, whoever, Michael Parsons. We'll give them defensive player of the year, and everything will be cool. But is that fair? I don't know. So it's a very interesting award, and I think it will be for a long time. So go down to the comments below. I want to know what y'all think. I want to know what y'all think as we watch this video, how you kind of view the award.
Well, JJ, I don't know how often you talk to JJ. That is something that is in the back of his mind.
Oh, petty.
It is right here. You need to know that when you're talking to him. He said, hey, Burnley's fun, doing this. It's a blast. Right back
here. You agree with him?
What year was he talking about? 2014?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I believe so.
I
believe it was
14. Yeah.
16 as well, because he said he had touchdowns that year.
Yeah, he said the MVP, there's 2 different awards. There needs to be the best player and then the MVP. He said the most valuable player will always be a quarterback. Touches the ball every single play, has to make every decision, will have to make the wide receivers good, has to make the team good. Definitely the most valuable player is always going to be a quarterback, he said. But there should be a best player award as well. And he thought about that.
Or maybe do you change it? They're kind of saying what I just said 5 minutes ago. But do you change it to where you take away MVP, whatever, and you make it the best player, the best season? Who had the best season? Who? Because saying the best player or most valuable player, all that stuff, you're getting too deep into the vernacular, word of the day. So maybe it should be a reflection of who was the best in this season, who had the best season in that tiny baby vacuum. And if you do it like that, and maybe you should get rid of other awards. Maybe if other awards were kind of whittled down, then it would emphasize allowing these other players to be in there. Because offensive player of the year goes to Justin Jefferson or Michael Thomas or players like that in the past. And because of that, you don't have to give them the MVP. You don't have to think about giving them the MVP because you already have this other designation for them. And I don't think anyone wants it to be. I think if Lamar Jackson or Brock Purdy or Tua wins it this year, I think it would be a bad look for the MVP, because I think then it's just accepted that this isn't the MVP. This is who's the quarterback of the best team, pretty much.
After losing,
because sorry, Pat, but it shows you that with the San Francisco Baltimore game. If Brock Purdy is a huge favorite to win the MVP going into that game, one bad game shouldn't knock him from being the favorite to being middle of the pack. What about the rest of the season? It shouldn't be a knee-jerk, week-to-week kind of thing. I mean, we have 2 games left, right? So you're telling me that all of Brock Purdy's MVP season that had him so high on the odds board, remember, guys, he was like a $2 favorite to win the MVP before the Baltimore game. He had an awful game. So does that just erase everything else? Because Baltimore, people now say, oh, Baltimore's better than San Francisco, thus Lamar has to be the MVP over Brock Purdy. But should it be like a one game kind of award? Should it be, I don't know. I just think this year is the trickiest this award has been.
Losing to you and sitting in a car afterwards, so pissed off about life. That's what I think happened personally, Aaron.
What, in 2012, where we had 6 touchdowns against them, or what's he talking about?
2014 here. This is the year he had. The Texans have got his back. 5 touchdowns, 3 receiving, 20 and a half sacks. I think it's a record. Close, 22 and a half?
22 and a half.
Yeah. 22 and a half. 78 tackles, 5 fumble recovers, 1 interception, 1 forced safety, all pro. Now that is...
that is an insane season. I mean, that is a banana season for J.J. Watt to not be the MVP.
TFLs.
Oh, he was D-end and D-tackle, all pros. He was all pro at 2 positions.
Yeah.
It's a good year.
All pro 2 positions, 20 and a half sacks, 5 touchdowns, 3 receiving. He might lead the Saints in touchdowns this year if he had 5. I mean, what a season from J.J. Watt. Wow.
That's a great year. Yeah, really good year.
What did you cooked? You cooked that year. Yeah. You had to have had a great one in 2014.
38 and 5.
38 touchdowns.
Not bad.
So JJ got to the point where he started looking at your stats. He was like, all right, that guy had a great year. Is valuable or is it best? We know you have to go.
Listen, JJ, hey, he had a great career. He's a yellow jacket guy. I mean, I think I'm going to be able to hold that over him for the rest of our lives, which is great.
When you guys are in the Hall of Fame, family portrait,
Oh, yeah.
just standing right over JJ.
Yep.
Just the whole time. Just
Hand on his shoulder.
Man, it might have been like a 2-minute discussion instead of a 5-minute discussion for you to get.
But it's also wild because you can look like Raheem Mostert. I mean, it shows you just the difference in positions. Raheem Mostert, I'm not saying he should be the MVP, but he's leading the league in touchdowns at the running back position, right? He's got 20. He's not even close to the conversation. Not even sniffing the conversation at all. Josh Jacobs led the NFL in rushing last year, wasn't even sniffing the conversation. So it just shows you how good players have to be, what they have to do to even be in the conversation amidst relatively average seasons from quarterbacks. It really is wild that Brock Purdy is getting this nod currently, or was until the Ravens game, instead of Christian McCaffery. I mean, it's nuts. It just goes to show you how quarterback dominant this league is, how quarterback dominant the NFL is. And I mean, you can't, like I said, you can't really say best player, because then what if you have how do you quantify the offensive tackles? How do you quantify whatever field goal kickers and stuff like that? The best at what? The most game changing, the most whatever. If you have, let's just make it up. Let's say the greatest left tackle that ever played the game is playing right now. They couldn't win the award. They couldn't win the MVP, even though they may be the best at their position of any position in the NFL. They may be better at left tackle than Patrick Mahomes is at quarterback. But how do you quantify them winning the award? It's just a really tricky situation.
In the Hall of Fame, if you had won the MVP, just couldn't do it, could you? Just couldn't do it, JJ. Aaron, enjoy the rest of the day. We appreciate you joining us, and I'm happy that you're not on IR and away from the building and not able to do anything. I'm happy you're practicing with the boys.
I wasn't going anywhere anyway, though. I mean, I said from...
All right, before we get into the Aaron Rodgers injury stuff, I mean, interesting. Let me know where you come down on this, guys. Let me know who. First of all, how you define the award. Do you think it's best player? Do you think it's most valuable player? Or do you look at it a different way? And also, let me know who you think should be the MVP this year. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.